Hello everyone, welcome to Ebenezer tutorials. In this video, we will be looking at the built-in data types that we have in Python. So the first one that we'll be looking at is the string data type, which is represented as str. So we will see how to represent strings in Python. Although we don't have to mention the data type of the variable while defining them, we must know the different data types so that we know which one to use in our application. So the first thing that we'll be looking at is a string. So if you want to represent a string, you can take the variable and simply enclose the string within quotes. So this is one way, and you can also have the same thing in single quotes. And you can print them. You can see that it is printed hello world and hello everyone. Now this is a single line string, but if we want to have multi-line strings, we can also have it. So the example for it is, we can take another variable and have 3 quotes, and within this you can give whatever string you want. So supposing I have so this is a string, and if I want to print it, you can look at this, it has printed the multi-line string as well. In here also, in place of the single quotes, you can have, in place of the double quotes, you can have single quotes as well, and it would give the same output in this way. So this is how we represent strings in Python. Now the next data type that we'll look at is the numeric data types. So the first one is how to represent integers. Now integers are also very simple. Simply take the variable and assign the integer value to it. So, and you can do whatever operation you wish to perform. Now just to check with what is the type, we can use the type function that is available with Python. Here you can see the type of the data is int. Now as before, I will take a string also, and we can check how does it print the type of the string. You can see here it shows the class as str, which is a string class. So this is how we represent integers. You can have the same thing for floating point numbers also. So any floating point number you can take. We will try to print its type using the type function, and you can also print the value. So here we can see that the class or the data type for this value is float. The next thing, we can also represent complex numbers in Python. So just as we have the normal syntax as a plus I p, here you can have whatever is the real part plus the imaginary part with j. So j is the, just as we have I, here we have to use j. Now we can check to see if the type is complex, and we will also print its value. Here we can see the type is given as complex. You can also have one more complex number which you can add to it. So supposing I have another complex number as 8. Now what we will print is a plus b. Here we can see the output, it's 12 plus 7j. It adds the real part separately and the imaginary part separately. Now one thing to note is that a is actually of type integer, but since we are adding it to a complex number, this gets implicitly converted into a complex number as 8 plus 0j. So that's how we get 8 plus 4 as 12, 7 plus 0 as 7. So we get the answer as 12 plus 7j. We can also explicitly convert an integer into a complex number, which we will be looking at in the further videos. Now this is a complex data type. So till now we have looked at how to represent strings or textual data, how to represent numbers in the form of integers, floating point values and complex data types. Now the next one is how to represent a collection of elements. So in Python we have multiple ways to represent them. The first one is a list. So how do you use a list? You simply have the variable and store the list into it. A list is represented using square brackets. So supposing I have a list of 3 numbers, so I can represent it this way. If you try to check the type of this variable, it would give us the answer as list. So we can see the class is list. Now the next thing, you can also iterate through these elements. I can use a for loop a and simply print, or you can print ai into 2. So what does this mean? For every element in the list A, in is the membership operator, we are printing I into 2. That means the element multiplied by 2. So if you look at the output, it will give you 20, 40, 60, which is each element multiplied by 2. So after the list, the next data type that we'll be looking at is a tuple. So how do you represent a tuple? It's similar to a list, but you will have round brackets instead of square brackets. And whatever you have, all the elements, you can give it inside it. So supposing these are the elements that I have. Now we can check what is the type of this variable a. And just as we traverse a list, we can also traverse a tuple. So here the class is tuple and we have printed each individual element. You can use any loop here. We have used the while loop. So we have seen the list, we have seen the tuple. Now the next thing that we'll be looking at is the range function. So supposing I have a variable and I use the range function. Now this range function we had seen in the previous video as well, where we mentioned the lower limit, the upper limit and the step value. So if I mention 10, if I mention only a single parameter, it is considered to be the upper limit. The lower limit by default will be taken as 0. So the elements that we will be getting is 0 to 1 lesser than the upper limit. So in this case it will be 0 to 9. And since the step value is not mentioned, it would be by default considered to be 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 9 we will be having. So this is also like a data type in Python. You can check the type of a. So, and you can also print a. The class is given as range. That means this belongs to the range class. And when we print a, we can see that it is not actually printing the elements. It is giving it in its actual representation, in its representation of range. So the lower limit is taken as 0 and the upper limit is given as 10. The step is by default 1. So the elements that would be coming inside this is 0 to 9. So this is a range. Now the next thing that we'll be looking at is a dictionary. Now the dictionary is always a set of key value pairs. So here also it's the same thing. We have a variable and you will be using the curly brackets for this, and the key value pairs will be inserted. Supposing I have a key as name and its value as Ebenezer, another key as age, and I give the value as 78. So this is how we represent key value pairs in Python. You can check the type. You can also print it. So here we can see the class is dictionary and this is how we have the key value pairs. We will see applications of this in the further videos. But now we are looking at how to represent them. Now after the dictionary, what we'll be looking at is a set. The set, just as in mathematics, even in Python, it is a collection of non-duplicate elements. So here also whatever elements we have should not be duplicates. So you can arrange the give any elements. You can print the type, and you can also print the elements. Now here we can see grapes, apple and banana, they are elements of the set. Now similar to set, we also have something as a frozen set. So frozen itself, from the word itself we understand that it is fixed, that means it's immutable. Now considering a set, I can add an element to a set by using the add method. So now if I print A, you can see that mango has got added. And also please note that the sequence is not essential to remain the same. So mango has got added to the set now. Now if you need to use a frozen set, you can use this frozen set method and then pass the iterable inside. It could be anything. Now I'm passing a set. Now if you try to print, check the type, you will get the class as frozen set, and these are the elements in its representation. Now to this, if I try to add, you will see it shows frozen set object has no attribute add. So it's immutable, you can't change anything within the frozen set, it's fixed. So this is how this is one variation of a set. So till now we have looked at how to represent textual data with str, which is string, how to represent numeric data with which can take the form of int, float or complex. We have looked at different iterables like list, tuples and other things also like dictionary, set, frozen set, and also we have looked at range. Now the last thing that we'll be looking at is bool, which is used to represent boolean data. So if you have something as true in Python, whenever we write true or false, the T and F must be capital. So it's printing the value. We will also check printing its type. So we can see it gives the class as bool. Similarly, you can have it for false also. Now this is directly we give the values as true or false. You can also give some other value and check what is its actual boolean value. For example, if I have a string as hello, I can convert this to bool and then check. Now we can see that the class is given as boolean because we have converted it and the value is true. Now any non-empty string, any non-empty list and any positive number, any number apart from 0, all will give us the value as true. Now I can also check it with an empty list. Now we would be getting the value as false. So this is the reason whenever we give values apart from true or false in if statements or anywhere else where the boolean value is required, it implicitly converts it into boolean using these rules. So these are the different data types that we have in Python, the built-in ones. We will see how to use them in our codes in the upcoming videos. So I hope you all understood what all we have learned in this video. So if you like the video, please like it and also share it with your friends and relatives, and do subscribe to Ebenezer tutorials and press the bell icon to be notified of every video that would be coming up in future. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and also share it with your friends and relatives. And don't forget to subscribe to Ebenezer tutorials to stay tuned. Thank you.